managing moderators. These users have the same capabilities as standard moderators, but in addition, they can manage blocked words and change chat modes in live. I don't need any of that. Ah, YouTube. I don't care. People can say whatever they want. Hell, I've been humiliated enough times in my experience over the years that it doesn't matter at this point. And actually, I have some fun, interesting stories to tell regarding that today, because there can never be enough humiliation in somebody's life. But the key here is what you do with that humiliation, and if you still care to try to outlive the issues that happen on a daily basis or not, or just crawl into a ball and let yourself die. I mean, again, as I said before, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today should worry you. Now, should it worry you about me? No, it shouldn't worry you about me. Lived 40 years on this planet. I've outlived a lot of my haters already. Am I the most successful man in the world? No, I've lived an okay life. I've gotten married, had a kid. That's more than most people can expect in their lifetimes. So I've traveled. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've been able to taste all kinds of amazing foods and things. So I've done more than what is needed. Like in turtle words, like the turtle does their entire lifespan cycle, whatever. They mate, and then the turtle goes and lays their eggs at a place, and then they die after that. Their job is done. Their job is done. But so let's talk about some of the things that you have here, because if I was to again, you guys should worry about your own kids and the future of your own kids going forward, because as I said before, I had more and more fights with my father during the job application, than I had with him throughout the entirety of our lives together. And the reason why is when he went, and I've said this in a bunch of other videos as well, when he went out there looking for jobs when he was a young guy in Sicily, and he started off his after graduating from chemistry and stuff from the university. So he learned chemistry and stuff. After that, he went through many different struggles, as all men do, in order to get into the workforce. But it was a different time. It wasn't, there was none of these gatekeeping systems that are around today, such as security at every single office space where you go to, pretty much. There was none of this online ridiculous things. People didn't really care as much about resumes as they do now. So there was none of this technology stopping people from getting jobs. There was none of this if your resume is not like top shape or whatever, you're out the door, that kind of thing. So that's why we had so many issues. Again, the cultural, not so much the cultural gap, but the age gap, because my dad was quite he was more senior than most men when they have children and stuff. Anyway, so there was a huge gap in between our understanding of the world and the things that he was able to accomplish back in the day when he did job interviews and all that stuff, and how more difficult it was obviously for me, especially because, again, I was raised to be a beta, and then I tried to offset and tried to reprogram myself to become an alpha in order to fit into the world that we live in today, because for convenience, right? When your parents both work, and so you're mostly spending your time with nannies or whatever it is. Nannies are fantastic, but they're very nurturing, they're kind, so you become accustomed to being nice to people and stuff like that, which is beta, and it's great, but it's not great for the office. So you're not motivated, you're not aggressive, you're not challenging, you're not constantly motivated to do better in that kind of environment. So then I had to change my programming as things went on. And obviously, as somebody who was naturally shy to begin with, who was not allowed to compete in anything. I mean, I was, again, natural, like genetically from both parents alphas, both in the workforce. And I was, again, for convenience purposes, right? Why so many people raise betas is because they don't ask questions. You put them in a spot in the room and they don't do anything. They can self-entertain, all that kind of stuff. So raising a beta is really convenient. You know, they won't steal things, they don't break things, they don't burn down the house, they don't, you know, it's that kind of thing. So a lot of people decide to raise their kids as betas, especially because they've struggled so much. Now they have all this purchasing power or whatever it is. My parents weren't super rich, but they were, you know, definitely well off. And so there was no reason to push me to do this, to do that. Then my dad also had issues back in, you know, his life previously with his own father, who was super competitive. He was a boxer and stuff. So he probably didn't want me to become super aggressive in sports and all that stuff. So, but then of course you have to grow up, right? You have to grow up. So one of the things that I did, and again, I wish I had documented everything that I'd done from the beginning of time while trying to job hunt, because it would just be a better story for you guys. It would have better data, better visuals and all that stuff. But I still have things that I got from career centers. This was one of them. Army strong, go Army. I would have definitely gone into the Army, but again, at that time, I was shy. I was a green card holder, so I wasn't an American citizen, so I don't think I could have been in the Army. So that was not something that I was going to be able to do. Also, wanted to do possibly border control. That could have been a job that I could have done. Again, I'm the kind of person who likes to be outdoors. I like to do things with my hands and stuff. So again, postman would have been nice. And you guys saw what happened to me when I recently applied to be a postman. Rejected. I also thought about, what about consulting, right? Consulting. I tried Hitachi Consulting at one point. Again, and this is the underlying problem that I'm going to go into in a couple of minutes. But before I tell you, I'm going to just tell you just a few of the industries that I tried over the years, and why at some point I was just like, it's the nature, right? What Einstein says, the whatever the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over and expect different results. There's a point in which even the most aggressive alpha or wannabe alpha is going to say, I'm done. They have to, because otherwise life doesn't move on. And then so you make different choices in your life and you just move on with it. So I tried insurance, but for insurance, my experience was a little bit strange. I went to the interview, I did this, that, and then again, it was about, and when you go to the interviews, you ask the right questions. And one of the questions was, okay, well, I need to get certified to become an insurance agent. What are the guarantees after I put in money? Because I have to put in money. Again, if you, a lot of the issues that happen when you are trying to look for work is, as an individual, right? Since you don't currently have a job, you have to take money from someone else. It could be your parents, it could be your spouse, it could be someone else. You might go and take out a loan. So as someone who is extremely practical, I asked the question, so if I get certified, what are the chances of me getting the job? And the guys were like, well, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the job. So it's all up to you. If you want to become an insurance agent, you have to go through this course. You have to pay us up front, and then you might get a job. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing insurance. Why would I do that? So I scrapped insurance. But let's say, what about martial arts? Martial arts would have been a good one. But again, how do you get into martial arts school? You got to have a black belt. So you have to be certified something at the very least in order to make it. I spent most of my life in dojos learning how to do all kinds of different martial arts, judo, Shotokan karate, as I said before, basically a lot of different martial arts forms. That's why I always bring that that book that I've been discussing and stuff. But again, the last belt that I got, because my parents didn't want me to be competitive and all that stuff, was, I think, a purple belt. And a purple belt doesn't give you teaching credential or anything like that. So even if I could wipe the floor with the majority of black belts, first degree black belts, even like multiple in a room, doesn't make me qualified to teach martial arts. So I can't do that. So that was something else that I wanted to do, but it was something that I couldn't do. We just talked about USPS recently. The computer system failed me. Bloomberg localization specialist. I wanted to be able to translate in both, since I speak 3 languages fluently, Italian, French, and English. So I thought I could do well working at Bloomberg as a localization specialist and stuff. But again, it was, I went well. I went well with the first like emails and stuff back and forth, no problem. I think there was one call just over the phone. It was fine. And then there was the constant like different, I had to do a test for French. I had to do a test for aptitude, blah, 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 blah. Eventually one of the tests failed me. So again, could have been somebody working at Bloomberg, but it didn't work out for me. What else? Gaming industry. I could make 3D models, again, 3D models, rigging and all that stuff. I was working so hard. I got 2 different master's degree in it. If there had been a PhD in art, I would have done it, but they don't make those. They don't make those. Otherwise I would have done it. And so at least I would have, been able to consider myself a PhD, but no. So got a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degree in technology, multimedia technology and design and medical studies and stuff. And all of that stuff is bogus. It was useless to my career. So couldn't get into Hollywood, couldn't get into Blizzard, Sony. Again, always whenever I did those things, I was always like the third place, fourth place, whatever doesn't make it, right? Just Mr. Almost made it into Sony, almost made it into Blizzard. This close. I even tried different options for Blizzard. Tried as HR, they didn't like me. I tried as somebody who do like 3D modeling, they didn't like me. So just basically whatever I do, the odds, like as I said before, what are the odds of me not getting picked to do juror? My next door neighbor who does not want to be a juror, he's done it before. He's got better things to do, so on and so forth. He's got a really busy lifestyle and he's working, gets picked. I've got nothing to do. I have plenty of time. I could do it. Don't get picked. So again, probabilities there. 3D printing. I remember back in the day, I was already pretty good at making 3D models and stuff. So I called up a couple of companies here in Irvine to try to figure out if they could 3D print my models. I was willing to pay them to 3D print my models. I just needed to know which company was going to do it. Why? Because I wanted a professionally done model so that I could put it on the YouTube and social media and stuff and just make it better. And one of the things that I discovered while talking to these people was that they're saying, you're better off, because they put me on a waiting list. I'm still on the waiting list. They've never given me a call. But anyway, the guy was saying you're better off buying your own 3D printer, learning how to do it, and 3D printing it yourself than you are waiting for this. Because again, here in Irvine, California, Woodbridge and nearby areas, apparently 3D printing was something that is complicated. I don't know why. I mean, again, I would have loved to work in the 3D printing here in Irvine, but I guess strange industry, whatever it is, didn't get picked. And that's all. So I went and did all the hard work. So I had to go beg for money, get 3D printers, learn how to 3D print, how to build models for 3D printing, all that stuff. Did it lead to jobs? No, it did not. So that was another thing that I wasted time on. Again, not really wasted because I learned so much about so many different things. So everything you do in life is not a waste of time. You learn things. But if the goal is to get a job, then yes, it was a waste of time, right? I wanted to be pool coach. Pretty good at swimming. I know the different strokes. I handled myself pretty well. Again, my parents did not want me to be competitive, but I liked swimming, so I did as much as I could competitively in the schools where I was. Same thing with soccer. My parents did not want me to be competitive, but I was one of the school rejects. I just come from the US, so my soccer was not as good as Italian soccer. So, because we traveled a lot. So for a while we were in Italy, then for a while we went to America, then we went back to Europe, so on and so forth. So anyway, I was at the Italian school, and so of course, all the cool kids hung out together, and so let's figure out who we're going to put in the A team. So of course I was not picked. They all picked themselves. There was the A team, and I was in the reject team, the B team. But I was not really an alpha. But as I said before, I'm the kind of guy that when there is no alpha, can step into the place of the alpha for a little while, just to get things running. So what I did was I gathered a couple of my friends. We worked really hard. We got together after school to practice soccer together. And guess what? In the end, we beat the A team. The A team was also a bunch of extremely arrogant people, so they thought that we weren't going to be good. So a couple of the games you actually won by default because the guys didn't even show up. But at the end, we won that tournament. Again, this is the kind of person that I am, and this is the kind of things that I end up doing, because as somebody who was raised to be a beta, I had to change my programming just to try to make it and fit. But as I said before, that doesn't change the fact that I'm not going to get a job in the modern era. It's just not going to work. So let's see, what other things did I try to do? I tried to do security. I got fingerprinting and all that stuff. I tried recruiting for a while. That was great, so long as I was doing it on my own. So I was doing it at home. I was doing recruiting for a couple of companies, for schools, trying to recruit students or whatever it is, and stuff like that. But I was doing this all on my own over the internet. I was doing recruiting for my own little companies that failed because of idealism. So I did all this kind of stuff. But again, did this put me into the position to get jobs? No, it did not. There was, as I said before, there were two companies that did actually give me a free lunch and gave me a chance to be in the recruiting business. And they were gonna, my best offer was 25 grand per year, and they were gonna give me a phone so that I could do some of the recruiting off-site as well. And that was a perfect offer. I was gonna take it, but that was during the time when my wife and I were getting ready to have a kid. So it was not ideal. And again, when you have an alpha in the house that goes, well, that's petty money. So you refuse that job. So you don't take that job. So I could have been a recruiting, I could have been a recruiter in-house. And then I tried doing teaching in schools. Then I basically went to the Montessori schools of Irvine, and I was a teacher for a while, teaching kids how to read, which is great. It's great. But again, what does that lead to? Nothing. It leads to nothing, because even though you're doing the job, you're actively, the teachers can like you and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got to fit in the box. You have to have the right certification to do the job afterwards. You have to be able to pass the test. So again, same thing with the insurance. What are the guarantees, right? You talk to the right people. What are the guarantees that if after I go back to school, so I have to go beg for money or get a loan or ask my spouse or whatever it is to get money to do the certification, what are the guarantees that then I get to work at this school, for instance, because I already like the people and all that stuff, and the guarantees are low. So as a practical human being, no, I'm not going to take that opportunity. Again, facility inspector, that would have been a great job. I love the people. I love the community. This is Irvine, California, Woodbridge. Who wouldn't want to be a facility inspector in this kind of environment? Of course, I would have done it. But went to the interview, filled out the paperwork, all that stuff, rejected. So, I mean, the issue here that we're going to keep going over and over and over is that the gatekeeping is so hard these days, and the requirements are so hard these days that it just makes it ineffective and almost stupid to go out there and look for a job. So when you're talking about people wanting the universal basic income, when you talk about people wanting a hybrid system between the capitalist system and universal basic income, which is sort of more of a socialist or possibly even a communist kind of system, it's because of that. Because at the very least, if people are constantly having to look for work, at least they have something to fall on, right? They have got something to lean on while they find the job that eventually will pay them to do something, right? And again, a lot of these things get messed up because of being married, right? If you're single, right? When I was single before I got married, before I had to give, you change your priorities and all those things. You can take more different kinds of opportunities that you wouldn't be able to take once you're in a relationship. And so that is another thing that you guys need to watch out for is you may be comfortable with being the support system for someone else, but you have to make that move and be sure about it, because if anything happens during the relationship, then you're going to be back in a situation where you're going to have to even perhaps ask your spouse for money, like during the divorce or whatever it is, in order to get out there and then find a job and start over and, like find housing and all that stuff. So those are things that you guys have to really worry about. And also, this is something that you guys have to worry about for your kids going into the future. It's not like it used to be. So again, for security, I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples. For instance, as I said before, little anecdote. I was at the Montessori schools of Irvine, again, working for free, just giving my time. It was a great experience. I got to be with my daughter for so many years, helping her out through all her struggles and stuff, but I got to meet nice people. It was really, really fun. Again, while I was doing all this, I was trying to create my own business. I spent a whole bunch of money, investor money, to create a video game that would teach kids how to drive. I tried to pitch it to the Irvine schools of Irvine. They didn't care about it. So again, there's so many different things that I did in my life that could have put me in a position where, like, I could have been the next Zuckerberg. I could have been the next Elon Musk. But all of those things failed. Like, again, I tried to make the latest and greatest aftermarket system that you can install on your vehicle to make it so that cars could kind of like squash together and be like less likely to kill people. I called it the bump effects. I'm going to make some videos later on where I show you the research that was done by this company. I think it was Davis or something on my behalf. But anyway, that kind of digressed to a different part of the story. But anyway, let's go back into the Montessori. So I was at the Montessori and I met this really nice man. And again, he was fit, he was kind, and he sometimes took care of my daughter. So I loved him for it. Anyway, so he, for the longest time, wanted to become a police officer. But again, he had a similar situation as what I had. Do you know how difficult it is to become a police officer? You have all of these things that you got to do in the everyday life that stop you from becoming a police officer. You've got all these online things that you got to do. You got to pass all these different tests. And so this guy, who I would have said is a perfect kind of candidate to be a police officer, because he was, in good shape. He's somebody that, if he needed to, he could jump hurdles. Very personable, very good with children, very good, very empathetic, very capable of discerning the difference between a troublemaker and somebody who's not a troublemaker. A really good person. Now, I can't say that I would know what he would have done if he was in a dangerous situation where he had to pull out a gun, or a high stressful situation. I don't know. I can't assess that. But he didn't even get that shot because he kept failing the internet tests. So, I mean, he never got a chance to find out. whether he could have been a good or a bad police officer because he never got his shot. And so again, this is all this kind of thing. How did I find out about how I could be a facility inspector here in Irvine, California, Woodbridge? I did the thing that I always do. I am a customer service individual from the get-go. So I can easily go up to somebody and start asking questions and find out. So one of the awesome facility, actually more than one of the awesome facility inspectors came to our pool. I was just the guy in the pool with the badge and stuff. So they came, they checked my badge, and I befriended them, talked to them for a couple of minutes and said, so, hey, how's it going? What's it like being, like a facility inspector? So they went through what it's like. And I was like, oh, wow, that is so cool. I wish I could do that. How difficult is it to become a facility inspector? So they told me, blah, blah, blah. It's not that hard. You got to do this. You got to do that. So I went. I got the paperwork. I did all the thing. As I said before, I did the interview. Rejected. Same thing with security. Again, funny story. I was in front of Karis Academy. Karis Academy is where my daughter used to go to learn Chinese. So she learned Chinese, and oftentimes I was just doing the busing. So there was a security guard in front of the bank. Really nice guy. Awesome. 100%. Just like top guy. So he was just there. And so again, I know how to talk to people. I don't put them on, I don't get them, I don't make them jumpy and stuff. So I befriended this guy. So I went up to him. Hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Again, I did not stop him from doing his job. That's number one thing, because, people are doing their job. So you don't want to take too much of their time. But you ask a couple of questions here and there. And then over the course of a few months, as we were there, like ask questions here and there, eventually we got to talking. And it was like, okay, so what's it like being a security guard, this and that and the other? He says, oh, that's great, blah, blah, blah. So he even gave me his information, his phone number. He gave me, like he was willing to be a reference for me as to when to do the applications to become security. So I went through all of that, including I had to beg for money to get the fingerprinting done and all that stuff. And I was ready to go. Let's go. Let's do security work. And then I applied online and failed. So this is where I'm coming from. And again, I don't give two craps about myself. Like if I die tomorrow, I've lived a very full 40 years on this planet. I've done everything that I wanted to accomplish. I've tried everything. The drone industry. I've like flown all the coolest drones out there. Again, I've done all of this cool stuff. But can I get a job today in the drones world? No, because just as I was getting ready to do stuff like that for drones, they now have a new certification that you need. And no, I'm not spending all of this time to learn something new once again, just so I can be told no by companies. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I'm not doing it. So, that's where I'm coming from for all these things. So as I said before, I even tried to get into, I tried to get a job as Bear Paints. I wanted to be a customer service representative for Bear Paints. It would have been awesome. I would have been at the phones. People would call in. Hey, hello. Like they would have been, hello. I'm calling because I bought the paints, blah, 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 from Bear Paints, and I'm having a problem. I say, okay, this is Marco from Bear Paints. How can I help you? How can I serve you? So they say, well, I recently bought this pack of paints, or this jar of paints, whatever you call it, jug of paints. And it seems to be the wrong color. You see, I've got this doohickey in my hand that I got from Lowe's or whatever. And I'm looking at the color that was here on this doohickey, and it doesn't match what's in the paint. So I'd be like, okay, understood. So what color did you exactly buy? Did you buy a specific color? So we're like, oh yes, I bought teal. Okay, very good. So what does it currently look like? So they'll be like, it looks orange. So I'll be like, okay, no problem. Looks like you are in luck because you've probably received a defective paint, or the machine could have made a mistake and accidentally poured orange instead of teal that you were looking for. Here we go. No problem. Just let me know your address or whatever. I'll take care of the refund and all that stuff. Or you could also bring it back with a receipt to blah blah blah, and they will refund your money. No problem. Another case scenario could have been like, well, it's teal. It's still kind of teal, but it doesn't really match the thing. So I could ask the question, because I know all about paints. Well, how long has your jug been sitting for? Oh, it's been like a couple of months since I bought it. No worries. Just bring your paint back to the store. And what you need to do is go to your nice, kind agent up front and ask them to put it in the machine. They'll just mix it up and it will be back to normal in no time. I could do this all day long. That's what I was born to do. This kind of thing is what I was born to do. But I did the application process. I did all the different tests that you're supposed to do to become a whatever agent, and I got rejected. So, as I said before, I'm running out of industries here, guys. So, again, here's the Lorax right here. I'm the Lorax. Speaking for the trees, right? How many needs do we need? Can we make job hunting less stressful? Can we make it so that people can actually get into the jobs that they want to do? The other stressful thing about job hunting, again, as I said before, I could befriend any police officer. I could go up to a police officer. We can have a quick conversation. Say, hey, what's up, sir? Again, you don't touch a police officer. If you touch a police officer, all hell breaks loose. It's against the law. You cannot touch a police officer. But you can befriend a police officer. Stay a little bit far. Let them know what you want. Talk to them. Don't distract them from doing their actual job. No problem. And we could have a whole conversation. And I've done this before. I've gone to career events here in Irvine, California, Woodbridge, for the police, where they had the Irvine PD gatherings. So I spoke to a lot of people. Some of them were from the SWAT team. Some of them. And again, could I do the job? Yes. Give me a gun. I'm not squeamish. Ever since I was a kid, I had nosebleeds. So when I see blood, I don't get squeamish. I don't faint, that kind of thing. Also, part of the reason why I got my certification in was for the schooling system. I got CPR certification stuff. But even like first responder, I'm the kind of guy who, if I see somebody's hurting, most people are like, oh my God, like. Also, as a parent, when my daughter got hurt a couple of times, she split her chin. She was bleeding. Who was there to save her? It was me. I just grabbed, like alcohol, paper towels, whatever it was, bandages, so that we could patch something up before she got to the ER, where she got proper stitching. I could have stitched her up, to be honest. I have no problem doing that. But again, I preferred, especially because it's a beautiful girl and stuff, to get a professional to do it so that the job looks good, minimal amount of scarring, and all that stuff. Again, my grandfather stitched me up when I was a kid. I fell on some Legos, split my chin open. Didn't have to go to the ER. My grandpa had it covered. How do I survive in stressful situations? I got situations where I was young, and again, I've told the story before. I was assaulted by somebody. I survived the situation. I knew what to do. I knew what to say. I got my butt kicked because I was young and small. And as a smaller person, you always tend to get your butt kicked when a really big, buff guy comes over. Again, I was with a couple of friends. But I was able to stall the guy so that he didn't go after them. Again, my friends, some of them were actually taller than me. Hit the road. I stayed there to go through the whole thing. Why? Because I didn't want them to get in trouble, and I was the only one, to be honest, out of them who could have been able to survive the situation and you know, even put up a fight at all, to be honest. So there you go, guys. There you go, guys. So this is the problem. The problem is I could befriend anybody, but who's currently doing the profession, but that doesn't mean I could get the decision makers. The decision makers need to make the choice to say, hey, this guy is worth our time. We're going to take him on. And every time that I've gone into situation, well, not every time, there were a couple of times where I said no. Again, like those situations were because other situations, for instance, I put family first. I put family first in those situations. But just generally speaking, as I said before, in general, it is so hard. It is so hard for people to make it into the jobs that they want. And sometimes they get into the jobs that they want, or they figure out they don't want to do that job anymore, and they can't get out of the current job that they're in because, as I said before, they probably have to take time off to get the certification. They have to beg for money in order to do that. And so it becomes an impossibility. A lot of people end up in jobs that they don't want to do just because they have to pay rent. They have to live their lives. And so all of these things that I'm talking about, guys, especially, it's not really about me. It's about you. It's about your kids. A lot of people may be in the workforce and have been in the workforce for 15 years. They just got let go right now. They don't have any idea what they're looking at right now when going back into the workforce. Again, if you're a coder, you probably can hack into the system and fudge the system up a little bit and make the numbers work for you. So, you know, like if you want to be a postman, but I don't think that there's a lot of coders out there that want to become a postman these days. So, I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard even for them. So when Elon Musk did the kerfuffle that he did, and now a lot of coders are going to be out there in the field, they're going to have to reorganize their lives and figure out what they're going to do if they can't go back to coding jobs. Again, their skill set is much better. They could decide to be a CPA. They could decide to be a lot of other things, but they're going to have to go back and do certifications for pretty much everything. Oh, if only I could have been this guy. And I wouldn't have minded being somebody in the armed forces. I'm not sure if I would want to be a foot soldier, but maybe a drone guy, maybe working as a drone guy, flying drones for the army. That could have been fun. But again, guys, nowadays with the certification and all that crap, it's not for me, I don't think. It's not for me, I don't think. But anyway, some people who were not Americans to begin with came to this country, finally made it as an American, and love America more than a lot of Americans that actually have been living here, who've made life so difficult for people. You've changed the world, not for the better, especially when it comes to job hunting. You've changed the world, but not for the better. There's a lot of folks out there, because there's always when I used to work for the HR stuff, I would talk to people, and people would say, we can't find people. Well, part of the reason you guys can't find people is because you've made it too hard for people who might be amazing at the job not make it. They can't make it in, guys. They can't make it in. They might be amazing police officers. They could be amazing security people. They could be amazing HR individuals, so on and so forth. Keep going. Again, how many industries have I tried? That's not even all the industries that I've tried, but that's just some, because I thought I'd make a video about it today. What can we do? What can we do to make it better? Don't look at me. I can't do anything. You guys are the decision makers. The decision makers never take a pay cut. The decision makers never make the world a better place. So get to doing something. That said, guys, thank you for watching as always. I hope that I helped you guys learn something today about the world. I am the Lorax, with zero influence. I'm the Lorax. Just telling you guys that our children are going to be struggling. They are. Make a difference for them. Who cares about me? Make it for them. Anyway, with that said, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.